I knew he was destroying me. I knew I needed to leave. Everyone around me could see it. So why couldn't I walk out of the door?
You've ever tried to leave a narcissist and found you just can't stay away? You keep coming back. Or if you're in it with a narcissist right now and you genuinely don't know how you're going to get out of it, I want you to hear this. First of all, you are not weak, you're not stupid, and you certainly aren't crazy. What you're suffering from is what's called trauma bonding. And today, Melissa and I are going to talk about what it is, what it feels like inside, and most importantly, how she and I both were able to break our trauma bonds and live the life we're living today.
And we both lived it. So everything we're going to share today was from our experience, personal experiences.
Right.
I knew this relationship was destroying me. I knew I needed to get out of it. And I had a restraining order. You would think that would make things easier because we were already apart. But no, I met with him secretly after love bombing. I thought, he sounds so sincere. Maybe this scared him into realizing what he's actually going to lose. So I literally broke the law by breaking the restraining order. That is how powerful trauma bonds can be. And the sad part is it feels like love. And until you know exactly what's happening to you, there is no way to break it.
For me, it was completely different, but the results were the same. We would have these incredible fights. I mean, I've never had fights like this in my life and not since. And I would either leave my house or she would leave, and I'd be like, okay, it's over. That's it. There's no way to recover from that or come back from that. She'd try to have me arrested or just the horrible things that she did and said. I'm thinking there's no way we're ever going to get back together after that. But after a short period of time, she would ask for forgiveness in person, which was my mistake. I broke no contact. I didn't even know what no contact was at that point, but she had to see me. She just had to talk, maybe get some of her stuff, or some way we would become face to face. And she would just cry and break down and beg and beg and beg for me to forgive her, because enough time had gone by that I kind of forgot about how bad the fight was, and I forgave her again and again and again. So this happened like 5 different times, and wouldn't you know it, a couple months down the road and the same thing would happen, only it would be worse. But I kept taking her back. What I went through was trauma bonding. And it was one of the most powerful things I've ever gone through in my entire life.
Well, think about it this way. In the beginning, the love bombing phase, everything's perfect. Everything feels incredible. He or she is attentive. They listen. You've actually thought you found the one. Your brain is flooded with feel-good chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, the same chemicals that create addiction.
Wow. And then the abuse starts, the criticism, the gaslighting, the silent treatment, and then the cruelty.
And that's how the cycle repeats itself. And that cycle, the pain, followed by love bombing, followed by cruelty, followed by kindness, that cycle is what your brain is trying to survive. You're not addicted to this person. You're addicted to the cycle, those feel-good emotions followed by distress, followed by feel-good emotions again. This cycle continues non-stop until you understand how to break it.
Right. The cycle looks like this. And see if this sounds or feels familiar to you. First of all, is the idealization stage. You're put on a pedestal. You feel chosen, special, loved like never before. I mean, have you heard this? Oh, we're soulmates, or I feel like I met my soulmate. It just feels really, really special. And then devaluation. The criticism starts, the gaslighting, the cruelty. You feel confused, worthless, desperate to get back to those old times, the good times. Then a small amount of kindness, and you feel hope again. Maybe this is the turning point. Maybe things will go back to how they were. and then the cycle starts all over again.
And that's why it's so devastating, because those moments of kindness and love bombing bring back those chemicals in your brain that make you feel good. So you think you're in love with this person. You think what they're saying is real, and that's what is producing these feel-good chemicals. It's your brain trying to survive. And the abuser knows exactly what they're doing. The problem is the victim doesn't. If you are not educating yourself about this, if you're not writing things down, if you're not trying to recognize these ups and downs as not being normal, inside you know something's wrong. You just don't know what it is.
Let's talk about that real quick. How do we really recognize that we're inside this trauma bond? And you made a really good point there, Ray. To write things down, to journal, to really go into depth. When these things happen, if you're not writing them down, they're going to be used against you in the future. So,
well, and writing things down, many times in the cycle of abuse, when the abuse is so bad and you are ready to walk out, they throw in that crumb of kindness. And it sounds awful because that's all it is.
Right.
It's just a morsel, but your brain grabs onto it, because who doesn't want that hit of dopamine? Who doesn't want that feel good feeling? And you want so desperately to believe that it's true. But when you go back and look at things that you've written down, this was what finally did it for me. I finally started, when we had a horrible situation, we would be broken up. I'm like, okay, this time I'm not taking it back. I said the same thing you did, babe.
Yeah.
You know, no way. This is so horrible. I'm never, ever going to put myself in that position again. Then he would try a different approach. It was always the sorrow. It was always it's all my fault. I'm going to change. I'll do better. You know, it's because of this. It's because of that. You know, I slipped and I started drinking again, but I'm back in AA. All of those things sound like something that you would want to believe because you still love this person, or you love the version of the person you thought that they were. When I would go back to my journal about the last episode we would have, and I started reading things, my brain unfortunately started reliving the pain of what I went through. These were my words.
Which is a good thing, actually. Yeah.
It is, because how many times does John and I say, your brain forgets pain? And that's the reason it lets you take them back. It lets you forget. It lets you make excuses for it, because no one wants to feel pain, but pain is a learning experience. That's how you can actually clear your head, get clarity, get out of the brain fog, break this cycle so you can start moving forward with clarity.
Right. So how she got out of it was through journaling.
Yeah.
That's how powerful it is.
Very powerful.
Mine was a support group. I joined a men's group at church, and a lot of these men had gone through or were going through the exact same thing I was going through, but were further along in the process. And so could kind of coach me through what I was dealing with. And because of that support group, I was finally able to break the trauma bond that I was in. So we want to lay out some tools here for you and give you some resources to help you break the trauma bond, because without them, you will not be able to break the cycle.
It's almost impossible. It is as powerful as any drug or alcohol addiction, because those feel-good chemicals, that drugs and alcohol, porn, anything that are bad for us that we may become addicted to, those feel-good feelings is exactly what that feeling you're getting from the abusive person when they show you that small morsel of kindness, or they say something that you so desperately want to believe. And it could be the littlest things. And what is so sad is they give you less and less and less of that, and we accept it.
Yeah, we need it that much more each time. Yeah.
It's like someone taking a drug away from you. You'll take any part of that just to have that dopamine hit.
Right.
And it's very dangerous. It really is. So if you don't recognize it for what it is, start identifying patterns and start slowly pulling yourself away from that cycle, it will repeat itself for years.
Right. So her tool was journaling, and that was what really saved her, because again,
It was my truth.
right. And we were able to go back to it and relive it so that the pain stays fresh until you're completely broken from it, which is very, very important.
And it's the truth. It's not the gaslight.
Right.
It's not what they're saying happened. It's what actually did happen, because they will somehow change that story completely.
Right. And mine, again, was support groups. I mean, I want to throw out a couple of support groups that we have right now that can help you. A private Facebook group. We'll put the link in the show notes below on how to join it. You can't find it anywhere but by using the link, and it's totally anonymous. So it's a great place to go. Also, our mobile app, the Warrior app, has a community there as well. If you're not part of our Warrior app community, please join the Warrior app and be part of that.
Tons of resources in there, tons of
Tons of resources, and that will help you break the trauma bond.
Yes.
Going no contact is a huge thing. If you're able to do that right now, you might have kids and not be able to do that. We'll talk about some other
But
ways
setting
to solve that.
boundaries is huge.
Right. So going no contact, that was the thing I didn't do. When I broke free, I didn't go no contact, and she was able to work her way back in and get back into my life. And if I had been no contact, it would have never happened, and it would have saved me years.
That's a big step that most people find very difficult. Even if you were co-parenting, or maybe you're in a legal battle right now, you can still use a co-parenting app. It keeps the emotional connection with a third party basically in between you. So you aren't getting that voice, that text message, that show up in your face, where it sets all these emotions off. And guess what? If they're being nice, the dopamine hit, the oxytocin, all of those chemicals that release that good feeling come flooding back. That's the reason she made sure you saw her in person, where she was trying to get her way back into your life, because she's an attractive woman. So your eyes saw this person, and then you're like, maybe it wasn't that bad.
Maybe it wasn't that bad. I can't tell you how many times I said that. And if I had been journaling and keeping track of all these events,
and stayed no contact,
I would have saved years of my life.
Yeah. And I was worse. So
now we put all of these into Melissa did into her book. This is
the
the
second
edition.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put the link for this in the show notes as well. It's free on Kindle, and it is chock full. It's about 130 pages.
No, it's more. It's actually 80 pages longer than the first edition, but it has workbooks, worksheets, journals, prompts,
Yep, right there.
affirmations, things at each chapter. So once you learn about something, you actually can apply the action steps right then and there, so you can start immediately benefiting. It's not just something you read, it's actually steps that you will take. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to leave you with one thing before we leave for today. Melissa and I both suffered terribly for long periods of time in trauma bonds. If you're in a trauma bond right now and you just don't see any way out, follow our lead with the resources that we offered. Please, there is a way out. We are living proof. We both were able to get through our trauma bonds individually, and then we met after and were able to get through it and build this amazing life to today, and then be able to share these things with you so that you have the opportunity to break free of the trauma bond and live the life that you so truly deserve.
Absolutely. We appreciate you tuning in today. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and like this video and share it with somebody that maybe needs to hear this message.
Right.
And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much.